Welcome back, everybody, to Ravenstar's Witching Hour. I'm your host, Solaris Blue Raven, and I'm here with my very special guest, Lorien Fenton from the Fenton Perspective here at the station. And Lorien, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yay! And also, yes, I do want you to talk about the looping. I know we didn't, we kind of changed direction there. That's probably me.
Yeah, we did. Well, what I was trying to make a point earlier on was that a lot of people that contact me are very much stuck in the programming. And I know that you know about this, Solaris, because there were quite a few people at the first summit and the second summit who are kind of stuck in this space. And what I call this space is the looping space, because all they really do is they never get beyond the part where they ask who, what, when, where, why, and how all the time, instead of just saying to themselves, hey, I can change it tomorrow. I don't have to keep asking everybody I see why me. And, you know, and to be honest, folks, I feel so sorry for these people, because they go to every conference I go to and they constantly have to tell their stories over and over again and get everybody to hear it. And, you know, after a while, people don't want to hear it anymore, because, you know, who wants to hear, oh, they're mind controlling me and I don't know what to do. And how can I make it stop? And, you know, this and that and that.
That's right.
And, you know, and they never stop and think that if they would just stop letting it happen to them, they have to make a conscious decision. I don't know if this is how you did it, Solaris, but for me, it was a very conscious decision that I wasn't going to listen to anything that happened to me. If I had an episode, I was going to forget about it and not sit there and ask myself why all the time.
Right.
Because it's just going to just take your life away from you.
Oh, it does. Well, the thing is, I couldn't get away from this handler and the communication they were subjecting me to, or the torture. But I did take notes, and I wrote books, and I put a documentary out, and I approached it on so many different levels, right down to testifying in a courtroom in 2006. And of course, I took my power back, Lorien, step by step.
Exactly.
I basically wasn't going to put up with it anymore. I wasn't going to put up with the abuse, the dialogue, the programming. I rejected every single thing, and I rewrote the program as a meta programmer. And basically, you just do it through your higher self, oversoul, superconscious. And then I attacked the technology. I went right after the technology, and right down to talking to developers of the technology and things where I knew I could counter it and understand it. So I understand this technology probably better than a lot of people who are in the underground.
Exactly. And I know you do. You're one of the, you know, like I said, you're one of the few people I know that's ever escaped all this. So, you know, and it's nothing against these poor people that come to me that are truly tortured, folks. I mean, these people are tortured.
Yep.
I mean, we have a good friend, Sam, who's going to be at the conference this year, and he's doing a lot better now. But boy, when I first met him 2 years ago and started talking to him on the phone, oh my God, you guys, I didn't know what to do. I almost cried all the time because he was in such agony and torture. But, you know, he's gotten really strong. I even kind of talked him into writing a book, which he did, which is a great catharsis for him. And, you know, I just got him to start talking on radio as much as he could and getting the word about what was happening to him. And it gave him his power, you know, as much as he can get, because they're still torturing him. But, you know, it's given him an outlet, and it keeps him from dwelling on what's happened to him. And it's wonderful to see the change in him in the last couple of years. So, you know, that's great. But this doesn't happen to everybody. There's so many people out there, you guys, that are so tortured. I mean, I get calls. There's this one woman, I got to tell the world about her. I've never told anybody about her before, but I'm not even going to mention her name or anything. But bottom line, she's living in her parents' basement. She's been there for years. She thinks that the parents and the people around her are part of the problem, and they probably are. They're probably keeping her in the position she's in. And every time I give her avenues to go out and try to help herself, she can't do it. She always comes up with an excuse why she will not leave the house. So, you know, she's totally sucked into it. And finally, one day, after 6 months, I think, of talking to this woman, I finally just said, I can't talk to you anymore. And she goes, why? You know, I need to talk to you. I said, I'm sorry. I can't be part of this. She goes, part of what? And I said, part of the fact that you're never going to do this on your own. And I'm not going to be the one that sits and just listens to you just fade away. I can't do it. I said, you've got to take back your strength, your power, and you just got to get mad and make it change. You cannot sit there like this. And I said, I can't hear it anymore. I can't help you. Yep. And I've never talked to her since then, but I have no idea how she's doing. But, you know, and then I had another woman call me that swears she was tortured physically. I'm not going to go into the gory details, but she's in constant pain. And this is another thing, Solange, do you know about this? There are people out there that they've been doing medical experimentation on to see how much pain they can tolerate and endure. And they go to the doctor to get help. The minute they put their social security number or their insurance in or whatever it is, the doctors completely change how, because they walk in, they meet this doctor for the first time. They're like, oh, I'll be glad to help you. And they look at their ailment or their problem. They go, oh my God, this is terrible. You know, what this has been going on. They put in their insurance, and then some kind of weird thing pops up on the computer that says, you know, this person is a nut job, or this person is a drug seeker, or, you know, whatever it is. And then they just basically ignore them, get them out of their office as fast as they can. And these people never get help. And I truly believe they're being medically experimented upon.
I wouldn't doubt it at all.
Yeah, and I can't believe the torture they're doing to. I've heard of 3 women already that they've done things where they've left their spine exposed. How's that for a bad one?
Holy cow.
Yeah. I mean, just really horrible, horrible things, folks. And I didn't want to believe it at first, but I've talked to these women at length for months. These people aren't lying to me. I've had them send pictures. I just don't take everybody at face value. I have them send pictures. I want the proof of what's going on. And you know what's even weirder that I found out? Oh my God, this is just getting really strange now. Is all 3 of these women, they're living with their mothers, okay? And no fathers are in the picture. And all 3 of the mothers don't believe them. Oh, it's like they're brainwashed or something to not believe anything they tell them. They just one of them laughs at her. She goes to tell her what's happening and needs help or needs to be taken to the store or needs something, and the mother just sits there and laughs at her.
Oh, boy.
I know.
That's sad. You know, it's ignorance, too. I mean, people need to be educated about this technology and about this whole arena so that they can understand and troubleshoot for people who they care about. You know, it's just ridiculous, but it's soul torture any way you look at it. You know, and Lorien, in the past, I've turned people away too who I couldn't help because they were the same way you were talking about. They wouldn't break orbit with what was happening to them, and they wouldn't try to find solutions. And instead, you know, these people don't make it. If they get hit by these programs, usually like if they're psychotronically harassed, they usually don't last more than 2 years without committing suicide. And they call that forced suicide. It's very rare when they hang on. It's very, very rare when they hang on.
It is. It truly is. And, you know, I don't even want to go into the suicide part of this, but, you know, in the super soldier community, they call it end times programming, where people just, you know, they're programmed at like what, between 30 and 33, we think, because that's about the age that most of them die, that have been in the program since they were teenagers. And, you know, most of them do die. And if, you know, the weirdest part is we don't know how many are out there that have killed themselves because of this.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you some names, but I mean, I kept track because people came to me for help. And then, I mean, I couldn't help them. And eventually they would just expire. They would be, and they told me that one guy told me, he said, they're telling me that that they're going to kill me. And he said, they're going to give me a Luciferian execution. And then a week later, he was dead, Lorien. A week later, suicide. Okay. This stuff is insane. And I'm telling you, it's a remote psychotronic drive. It pushes these people either into behaving crazy, like shooting people up, or committing suicide, a self-destruct mode. I mean, this is a dangerous, dangerous technology, and it's being deployed across the globe. And not only is it in the United States, it's sold in the black market. And of course, you've got other countries that are manipulating people here as targets. I mean, they could have somebody from another country torturing them.
Exactly. You know, there's a huge group of people in Japan and China. Australia isn't as hit as bad, and there's tons of people in the UK.
Right.
Yeah, especially near Germany, and France isn't so bad. I wonder why. Maybe it's the cheese.
Or the wine, I don't know.
The wine or the cheese. And Italy isn't as bad either. And you know what? Probably just because nobody really does anything there. It's not like we have a huge community of people going off to work and, you know, doing what they're told anyhow in France and Italy and Spain, for that matter.
Yeah, maybe that is part of it. They broke with the whole structure to begin with.
Yeah, they're not as easily manipulated, I don't think. So anyhow, it's just funny now that I think about that, because the Japanese are very disciplined in their daily, you know, especially their work ethic. It's just mind-bogglingly strict. Right. So, yeah, it's interesting. There's such a huge problem with it over there. That's another thought to be had.
Well, I do know a lot of people in the UK have gotten targeted big time. So,
Oh yeah.
It seems like they're European influence. I mean, they're definitely going after some European descent.
Yes, they are.
Mhm.
Especially, like I said, in Germany and that area, they really are going after those people big time. And
Mhm.
we both have a friend in common that's over there fighting it right now, and I can't remember her name.
Is she the one with the Morgellons or no?
No, it is. Let me see. I'll find her here in a second. Starts with an M. Melinda Vistron.
Okay. Right.
I
Yeah.
believe that you know her.
I think I do.
And
That name sounds familiar. Yeah.
yeah, she's working with a group over in, I believe it is outside of Brussels. Yeah, she's in Belgium. She's in Brussels. And she's been all over the globe. She's been on the Alex Jones show. She's amazing. She works with targeted individuals and the mind controlled. And I really have my hats off to her. She spends 24 hours a day, I think,
Well, yeah, I have to
doing
applaud anybody.
this.
And you too. I mean, literally, we've been on the front lines trying to expose the misuse of this technology and the horrific things it's doing. And what amazes me is that we have a corporate government that's just completely turned a deaf ear deliberately. And that to me is just the most infuriating thing when I think about it. It's not, I mean, it's bad enough we have a bad economy and they're sabotaging with all these other things, but they're also attacking civilians, innocent civilians, with this type of technology and deploying this tactical hardware onto people. And I'm telling you, it's just horrific.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. You're absolutely right. Can't argue at all. And so, yes, that is why I do the Super Soldier Summit and Mind Control Summit. I'm calling it the Mind Control Summit now because what has happened to me in the last year is that most of the super soldiers have gone off on their own direction, and I still am in contact with a lot of them. There's a few I'm not, and I just had some horrific experiences with one of the leaders of the group. I'm not going to mention names at this point. And another kind of bizarre experience happened with the guy who brought out the Basis series, and I still am friends with him. Don't get me wrong, folks, but I disinvited him to the conference this year because of the controversy with the I will just call him JC. And JC has been bad mouthing me, and he put me on a death list.
Oh, I'm on it too, Lorien. Don't feel bad.
Oh, are you on the death
I am.
list?
Hurrah!
How exciting!
Hurrah. Oh, I'm shaking in my boots. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, me too.
He doesn't want to screw with me. It's really funny, but he's triggered, and you have to understand. I'm sure you understand that he's triggered. He doesn't even. He's not in control. He has no control.
He's not even close to being in control. And I spent personal time with him back when he was living near me last year. And I sat with him in his living room one day and I said to him, how did you decide that this is what was happening to you? And he goes, well, I didn't really decide. They did it to me. And we got to talking. And he goes, Lorien, I don't remember 3 years out of my life.
That's bad.
And I said, oh my God. And I said, well, do you know how many personalities you have? Have you been in touch with any of them? And he goes, oh, I don't think I have that many personalities or any or something like that. And he was pretty upset with me for asking. So, right then and there, I was probably triggering 1 over 2, or my guess is he's probably got at least 11.
Oh, he has a ton of alters. Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
no
at
doubt.
least.
Yeah, just in the wheel. But,
yeah,
and that's just the tip of the iceberg. He's just the tip of the iceberg insofar as what they've been doing. And it's really sad because he's a byproduct of this technology and the misuse of. And that's a perfect example of somebody who's been psychotronically programmed to a point where he's triggering and he's actually dangerous.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this was all created by our wonderful underground. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, then here's the kicker on this. Now, I've been accused of extorting and exploiting the super soldiers, and in the last 6 months because of the JC and everything that's gone on with him. And I just laugh because I'm the only one that's sat on all the personal interviews with all of you guys here at the first summit, the second summit. I never let their stories get out on the internet because personally, I think it's really unprofessional to put people out on the internet like that where they have no proof behind them and they're being made spectacles of. Now, the expert presenters at my conferences, I have no problem putting them out on the internet. I mean, we sell our past events to support the future events. And as you know, that's how we make a little bit of money to keep the next one going, supposedly. But that hasn't been working so good. But anyhow, so that's what I do, but I never put out their personal stories or anything about them. And so the person who did the Basis series, who is allowing JC and quite a few of the others to badmouth other super soldiers and myself and Douglas and quite a few people in public and promoting it on his website is just really tough for me.
I addressed that also, by the way, just so you know.
You've addressed it?
I did. I addressed it with, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't get it.
It's not professional. You know, the thing is, I understand where everybody's coming from, but I do see a lot of triggering. And one thing I can tell you, when you're grounded and you break orbit with those programs, they don't like you. And you become a target on many different levels. And so that's what I'm seeing. Anyway, I'm seeing them being very, very programmed and triggered.
Yeah, and I believe that Mr. Bases is also.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's been shifted a lot since the last time. And I don't know him that well, but I'll tell you point blank, you can see it. I mean, I'm more grounded. Each year I get more and more fortified, and I'm seeing these guys fall apart.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, you know, with him, Solaris, it's not that he's falling apart. It's just that he thinks it's news. He thinks it's newsworthy to have people get up there and bash other people and gossip and he says, I've got to get the truth out. And I'm going, but is that really the truth?
That's not the truth. No, it's people's personal spin because they're driven by hate and they're being triggered. And that's the problem I'm running into. I mean, I won't mention names either, but there are people out there who are, quote unquote, they say they're super soldiers, and then they get triggered by my energy alone. And I can tell you point blank that there's something wrong with those guys to begin with. I mean, seriously. But I think they're assassins. I think they're programmed assassins is what I think they are. And we didn't, I don't mesh with the program. I'm not programmable. That's the bottom line. Okay.
Yeah.
And they are, and they have been. And that's really a dangerous avenue. But, you know, we should be working together, exposing the misuse of technology. I mean, that's one of the reasons I came forward, was to expose this and let people know what's actually happening here. And instead, everybody's at each other's throats, and it doesn't make any sense, Lorien.
Well, yeah, it doesn't. But I will tell you what was told to me the first time I even thought about it. Was a glimmer in my eye to even do this conference. I remember getting an email from somebody or a phone call, and they said, oh, Lori, you shouldn't do this because they're all programmed to hurt each other and you're all going to wake up dead. Do you remember that?
I do.
That famous quote. Yeah. And it's
another reason I had my own room.
But now, you know, 2.5 years, 3 years later, I'm going, you know, that person was absolutely right. Because the problem I'm seeing, and I love Max, I love James, I love all of my, what I call my super soldiers. I love them all to pieces, but they have so many problems. And they've just got so many things they're dealing with. And they are literally programmed to not get along. And it's like young. Having 6 kids that fight all the time,
right.
You know, and they got to gossip about each other all the time. And if they're not out there in the limelight getting the fame and attention that they think they need, and I won't give it to them, by the way, folks, I'm not one of the, like I said, I don't exploit them. I don't put them out there on YouTube videos and I'm not saying that everybody else that has done that is exploiting them, but I just don't feel the need to do that. And once they finally realized that I was protecting them instead of exploiting them, they all got angry.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. So the only thing I can figure out is they're severely programmed to have this really heavy influence of narcissism.
Yeah, and they're little. I mean, they're young, too. I mean, to me, they're just pups. I mean, it's a maturity issue, if you ask me. And that's another thing. Now, these guys supposedly have been programmed since they were, children? I got hit when I turned 40. That was actually a blessing in disguise, because I had already developed and mastered my own abilities on a psychic level, on a martial arts level, on a professional level. So they really couldn't do a whole lot with me.
Exactly. And, you know, I was a professional dancer and an artist when I was younger. So, you know, I don't know. And a musician, I just feel that those things really keep you focused, and it's so much harder. And I wasn't a big drug addict either.
Exactly. That's another thing. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. Yeah. So I was clean. You know, they basically picked the wrong person to screw with. But, you know, these guys who are younger, they're younger and vulnerable. They can be broken down. They have addiction issues. I mean, I'm not trying to judge anybody. I'm just telling you how it is. And so that's how you can see how they got kind of fractured. And they do need a lot of healing within, I suspect.
They do. But they're not that young. Solaris, they're in their mid to late 30s.
Are they really? I kept thinking they were young.
Oh, yeah. I know, and they all look like they're 12.
They look like kids to me. Well, they might as well be kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the problem because maybe we're seeing the personality that makes them act
Possible.
like, 20-year-olds.
Yes, because MK Ultra programs will, like an adult male will appear as a 16-year-old boy. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
So there you go.
Yep, that's exactly it. And, well, I got a couple of quick announcements to make about the summit this year. I guess we should go there now.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So, first of all, I'm trying to do a fundraiser so we can get everybody there because we're having some problems financially on this end. So I want to do a fundraising drive, and what I'm doing, folks, is I'm offering last year's summit DVDs on demand. They're not DVDs, it's on demand video. You just go to mindcontrolsummit.com. And let me go in there and just make sure it's still working because the site got hacked, Solaris, big time, a couple days ago. And I just got the site basically rebuilt. So if anybody's having problems on the website, just let it go. Another 24 hours, I should have everything back to normal. I had to take the on-demand video from Summit 2 off the site physically, and you're going to go to a link out and watch it on the Dogcast account, which is where it's at right now. So there's instructions there on how to do it. Once you get into the Dogcast account or my channel, there you'll see that you can put in a promo code, and this is the promo code. You're going to get $10 off of the $30, so you can see the whole summit. That's 14 hours of video for 45 days. That gives you a lot of time to watch it. Mm-hmm. And the only problem with doing it this way, folks, is you can't access it from too many IPs. It will shut you down after about 3 different IP addresses. So this keeps people from sharing it or giving the codes to other people or what have you. This is the only way they can do it so that it's pretty much locked down, is that they just allow like 1 or 2, I think it's 2 IPs, and they might allow a third, but after that a red flag goes up and they start they'll take your access away. So, don't buy it for the $20 and give it to all your friends, because it won't work for all of you after about, two watchings. So there you go. So, anyhow, she's going to supersoldiersummit.com or mindcontrolsummit.com, and you go to the Summit 2 on demand. Once you get into the account through the link, you put in the promo code JOHN23, and that's a capital JOHN and the numerals 2 and 3. That's John with a capital letter at the beginning and a 2 and a 3, and you'll get the summit for $20 instead of $30. So I think it's a great deal, and we're just trying to sell, a few of those puppies so we can get gas and whatever else we need to get to the summit this year. And I'm trying to buy a PA system so I don't have to rent the one at the hotel, which costs, oh my God, if people only knew. I laugh. People go, oh, it can't cost that much to put these things on. If people knew how much the hotels charge you for their PA system, you can go out and buy 3 PA systems for the price that they charge you to rent these things for a weekend. It's absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And
is it live stream this year or no? Are we going to do that or no?
No. We are never doing that again.
Okay.
Because I don't think they're ever going to allow it. So I'm not even going to try it. After the fiasco last year and losing so much money on that deal, I just, there's no way I could go through that again.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So,
why don't you run through and let everybody know who's going to be there?
Sure. Okay. Let me go to the speaker page here, folks, which I really like Douglas Dietrich's new picture.
It's really awesome. Good. Yeah, I told him it's fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks great. So Douglas is going to be there. So if you guys have ever wanted to meet Douglas and have a conversation with him and go to dinner with Douglas and Solaris and me, and let's see who else is going to be there. Robert Duncan. Oh, my God. Okay, let's just start in. Douglas Dietrich will be there. and Derek Robinson. Now, Derek is the president of the human rights organization called Freedom from Covert Harassment and Surveillance. Last year, he did a presentation on what targeted individuals were, the definition of it, and I believe they went into gang stalking and a few other type of items. And he was wonderful. He had a gentleman he brought in from the East Coast that was his compadre speaker, and he talked about how they use animals to observe us and send signals and information back to whatever the AI is that's watching us. So if you guys think that that blackbird outside the window is just sitting there, it could be an actual drone type of animal that they're using to keep an eye on you. So think about that for a minute. That's another crazy whole area to go into. So also Joanne Richards will be there. Joanne is a good friend of mine. Her husband, Mark Richards, was supposedly, I'm sorry folks, my headset's kind of fallen off here. I got to try to get it to stay back on. There we go. Was supposedly, now I always use the word supposedly because we don't know for sure, but I believe Joanne and I believe Mark. He was also featured, by the way, on Project Camelot. Carrie Cassidy went to prison to visit him and did a report on it after she got out of the prison and went right to her car and made a report. So if you want to know more about Mark Richards, go to Project Camelot and look up Mark Richards. But anyhow, his wife will be there, and she talks a lot about oh dear, someone's calling me when I told them not to. Okay. She talks quite a bit about the secret space program and how they mind control people in the military, especially what they did to Mark and quite a few other people in the family. And she'll be a special panelist this year. So listen to her presentation from last year. If you buy the on-demand video, she's got an amazing presentation about the military people and how truly a lot of these people are being used in these secret black ops programs. Mm-hmm. So she's wonderful. And then one of my favorite people on the planet's going to be there. It's Misha Johnston. Now, Misha is what I consider a Kathy O'Brien clone. She was probably used in the same capacity. She was, I guess what we could say is that she's been an MK Ultra survivor, Solaris. She's the one who married a guy, doesn't remember 6 months out of her life.
Right, yeah.
And doesn't, yeah.
Man.
I mean, she marries this guy, doesn't even know him. She wakes up 6 months later, she's in a house. She is married to this guy, doesn't know who he is and how she got there. Now, you know, you could say that she had amnesia for something or whatever, but I totally believe her. You know, the whole story, it's a mind-boggling story. And then she starts having My Lab's military abductions with Melinda Leslie. Mm-hmm. So that's even weirder because then she's being abducted by the military and reptilians are showing up at these abductions where they're taking her to supposed underground bases. Okay. So yeah, just wild stuff for poor Misha, but she has come out of it she's one of the strongest people I know. She runs these Starseed meetup groups and she helps super soldiers and she's just an amazing lady and she'll be there both Saturday and Sunday morning at 8:30 till 9:45. She's going to run some experiencers groups. We may even start them at 8. I have to get a hold of her this week and see what time she wants to do it, but she'll be there both Saturday and Sunday morning, bright and early, running these groups. And last year we had quite a few people show up for them, and they run the gamut all the way from targeted individuals in this group to people that are being abducted by aliens. So you can, no matter what's happening to you, you can show up for this morning group, bring your coffee, and share your experiences with other people, and she'll help you get through, you know, getting your story out there to other people, and maybe you can get some kind of solace out of it. I don't know exactly what she does, because to be honest with everyone, I couldn't get out of bed that early if my life depended upon it. But So there you go. And also, I want to offer this experiences group to anybody that can get to the summit that is not attending the summit. Like if you live in the Las Vegas area and you just want to experience the group, I have no problem with you being there doing that. It's just, I'm going to give it to anybody who can get there. So, and if you can't afford the summit, then so be it. But, at least get to the group if you live in the area and can make it. In the morning, because I'd love to have anybody there that wants to be there. So it's wide open to anybody who wants to attend. So she'll be there, and she's amazing. I love her to pieces. And then I've got Ron Gilman will be coming down from Seattle again this year, and he's going to tell us all about what they've been doing to him. Source, they've been doing a new thing to him. They're projecting people in his house, in his front yard, and in his driveway. Wow. Doing these crazy acting scenarios.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And he's able to catch them on video.
Wow. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, they're yelling at each other and talking to each other, and then they'll just fade away out of existence.
Man-made ghosts, huh?
Yeah, that's what we're starting to think. We've been doing a lot of discussion about it, and we're starting to think that they're like holograms.
Mm-hmm. That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah, and he also has been seeing a lot of UFOs that are hanging in his trees outside of his house. Small UFOs that are 8 feet, and then he says one of them he woke up one day and it was hanging sideways.
Wow.
And then it tilted and went 90 degrees and then buzzed off. And I said, did you hear anything? He said, no. And I said, I'm starting to think that was a hologram too.
Wow.
So we're starting to think they're really attacking him with a lot of holographic images.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to hear about this and see his videos. And so that's going to be fun.
Not a regular day in the neighborhood.
Yeah. I'm telling you, this guy, he has more stuff happening to him than just about anybody I know out there besides Sam. Mm-hmm. And Sam Jenkins will be there this year. He's already got his ticket. He's ready to go. And he's going to be there sharing all the stuff they're doing to him. And it's going to be a wild time with him that night as well. So, and then Erin Green Hicks will also be there. And she's going to talk about all that's happened to her since last year's summit regarding super soldiers. And I can just tell folks, I know of one experience where somebody was trying to kill her out in front of her house. So, I mean, it gets really crazy, some of the stuff that she's going to tell us about this year. It's just mind-boggling. Then Dr. John Hall, which we've talked about earlier, the hypnotherapist who's wrote the book about satellite harassment. He really believes, if I remember correctly, Solaris, isn't his book about how they're beaming this down from satellites?
Yeah, that's pretty much it's similar to what I was talking about, the satellite-driven technology, which interfaces with artificial intelligence. And I believe it was his girlfriend that was stalked, if I'm not mistaken, or under some type of control. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. And then Robert Duncan will be there again this year, and he's going to talk about his brand new book. His first two books were called Soul Catcher and Soul Catcher 2, if I remember correctly. And his new book, I don't remember the title.
I think it's Taming Your Dragon or something like that.
It is. It's about trying to come up with different ways to control or break free from the mind control.
Right.
Is that, if I'm not mistaken?
It's something like that. And don't quote me on that exact title, but it's something with a dragon in it.
Yes, I think so. Exactly. And I haven't looked at it since he and I started talking about 2 months ago. So I just got to remember that. So, and then Judy Byington. Now, folks, I'm going off on a little bit of a different tangent this year with the mind control, but since Satanism is starting to play such a big part of what I'm hearing from a lot of people coming to me is that they were ritually abused, or that they were not ritually abused, but forced into satanic rituals, not wanting to be there, but seeing things like their baby brothers being killed. And I'm not even going to go into the details of what this woman told me 2 weeks ago. I cry every time I think about it. But these are the kind of things that are starting to come out to the surface, is that the Satanism is playing a big part of how and why this is being done to people. And so Judy Byington wrote the book called 22 Faces. Have you had her on your show yet?
No, I should probably get her on, though.
She is absolutely mind-boggling. And the book is called 22 Faces. It's about Jenny Hill and her 22 multiple personalities.
Wow.
While interviewing hundreds of satanic ritual abuse and mind control survivors, legal entities, let's see. I'm reading in the middle of this. I probably shouldn't have done that.
That's okay.
Wow. Anyhow, she basically has been working with this woman and wrote this book about all the mind control and ritual abuse. She's the founder of Child Abuse Recovery called CAR. She works with Stop Mind Control and Ritual Abuse Today, which is smart. And she and with the founder Neil Brick, an international tribunal in crimes of church and state, and which is Kevin Annett. And that brings me to Kevin Annett. He's the guy who's involved with exposing international child trafficking rings and the satanic ritual abuse that goes with a lot of this. And he's also, I think, the guy who recently was calling for the new pope to advocate his popehood or whatever it is. And so he's quite a mover and shaker, and I am so pleased that he decided to come to this conference this year. He's an amazing guy, and when he heard that I was doing this, and he just said, Lorien, I'm going to be there, I don't care what happens, I'll get there. Nice. So I was like, wow. So, I got an amazing lineup. Also, I'm missing Tyrone Dew. Tyrone is, I don't know where to start. Tyrone is a victim of being a mind-controlled, targeted individual. They used to talk to him in his head and make him go spend his money. They made him very poor. He was doing really well in life. He was very successful. And then they started saying to him, go to the strip club, go to the Macy's, go to this, go to Nordstrom, spend all your money. If you don't spend all your money, we're going to kill your so-and-so, this type of stuff. So they kept him absolutely dirt poor. Here's a guy making tons of money, and they kept him dirt poor. And I got to laugh, folks, because I used to say to Tyrone, I say, are you sure you just didn't go to that strip club because you wanted to? He's going, no, I really didn't want to go, but they made me. And I'm like going, boy, every man uses that as an excuse, I'm sure. I was mind controlled to go to the strip club, Anyhow, we have a lot of running banter about what was done to him, but in all actuality, he's a very amazing guy. He started making the rubber bracelets that support different organizations, like the bicycler guy had. I can't remember.
Lance Armstrong, yeah.
Exactly. He's got the same thing. They're called satellite harassment bracelets, satellite harassment awareness bracelets.
Nice.
Yeah, he's going to bring a bunch to the conference, and we're all going to get to wear ours. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then Deborah Tavares will be there, and she is an amazing talk show host herself on the Rents Network, and she is going to talk about what they have in store for us in the future, because she's been doing a lot of research into it. And the mind-controlled people, she really believes, are just being mind-controlled to end up in FEMA camps and as slaves to the elite, which I think is very intriguing. I want to hear much more about how she came to that conclusion. So that'll be interesting. Then Niara Isley, our wonderful, amazing, I call her our female super soldier extraordinaire, who was taken to the moon to work and was also sexually abused and alien abused, and I don't even know how to describe this woman. She's had everything done to her, and she's been being taken since she was a kid, and she's been popped in different programs for different purposes. Anyhow, she's come out of this all with an amazing personality, and she's a lovely human being. Another person who's broken away, Solaris, as you know, and she's now become a type of therapist. I think she works in Soma, which is the body therapy. And she's going to be talking about how you can protect yourself from this type of mind control using body awareness. So this is a whole new way for people to go, and I think it's going to be really wonderful for them, because with your awareness and teaching them how to use their mind to get through this, she's going to go through the body technique, I believe.
Yeah,
so that'll be really cool. And then, like I said, Kevin Annett will be there, and Miss Solaris Blue Raven will be there. So don't miss that. If you're a Solaris Blue Raven fan, you got to get to the conference. Oh, and I forgot Sean David Morton.
Sean.
the Sean, the Mr. Sean, he will be there talking about when the super soldier ended up on his couch at his home. This is going to be quite interesting. I know the story. He told it to me one night, and I was absolutely fascinated. And he's got a lot more detail he's going to go into about it, and just absolutely amazing. This was back long before, it was in early 90s. And Wendell Stevens and he and a couple other people were involved with this guy, and he'll talk to everybody about that in much more detail. And then finally, Melinda Leslie will be there, and Melinda's a good friend who has had many MyLabs experiences. And then at last summit, as you know, Solar, she had a big awakening to the fact that the super soldiers are all part of the MyLabs. Stuff that's going on.
Right.
So she's been doing a lot of research into it, and she's going to come up with her new presentation around super soldiers, mind control, MyLabs, and how they all equate. Plus, she's going to tell the story about last year's Super Soldier Summit and what happened to her. So that'll be really interesting. I can't wait. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about. I've already done my presentation to the New Living Expo this year about what happened to me and how I got into this whole thing. And now I'm thinking I might just get up on stage and do gossip. What all the different super soldiers have been doing this last year. Nothing bad, of course, but I just want to talk about all the different people involved in the big picture, and just talk about where they're going, what they're doing with their life, and what I've been up to.
I think that's wonderful. Yeah, it's interesting because it does all dovetail. If Melinda Leslie's connecting all the dots, they certainly all blend in.
They do.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Her and I have been in communication quite a bit about my whole spider web theory, that this is all interconnected into that AI center that we were talking about earlier. And you know what? I finally said to her one night, I believe it was right after a show she'd been on with me, I said, I wonder if that center is just God or our holographic mind. And it's gone into the dark side.
Well, that's interesting.
And she was like, oh my God, could you imagine if God went into the dark side? I was like, I don't know, but that just scares the bejesus
that's funny.
Out of me.
When good gods go bad. Well, I don't know. Taking a look at this world, I could get a little ticked off myself. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, and then I got to thinking about it later. I thought, well, shoot, he's already caused a nuclear holocaust in Sodom and Gomorrah, and he flooded the whole planet. If in actuality, if he was involved in that, if it wasn't a comet that hit and then we got it flooded, and if there is a God consciousness and it does have control on this planet in some way, shape, or form in a 3D reality. Yeah, he must have gone bad because there's just too much horribleness going on.
It's definitely off balance, without a doubt. Well, I think the collective is under mind control. I think the mass collective is under a really negative form of mind control. And that's globally. I mean, I think there's a small percentage of people who are really awake and ascended in consciousness. And those of us who have gotten through these programs can kind of see through the veil. But the rest are just completely, it's like that movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers, I swear.
Oh, yeah. No, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, I don't like going out of my house anymore. And they were like,
it's weird.
Why?
Yeah.
I said, because I look at people shopping and doing stuff and I go, first of all, where are they getting their money to do it? Do they have a job? How are they surviving? Do they even care about anybody else? And you know what really blows my mind, Solaris? This is where I almost break down and cry every time I go out now. I see anybody sitting on the side of the road begging for money or, whatever with their cardboard signs and what have you. And I can't stand it because you know what that tells me? It just tells me that everybody's so mind controlled that they think that's okay.
Yep, exactly.
It's not okay. We weren't born to let that kind of thing happen.
Oh, not at all. No, actually, technically, we shouldn't have any homousness at all, or people hungry.
Exactly.
Not at all.
There should be no homelessness. There should be no poverty. There should be no lack of education. We're at a point now where we're within 10 to 20 years of being able to interface with computers organically where you don't have to go to school for 12 years out of your life. Maybe you're only allowed as a child growing up to plug in with the interface for 5 or 10 minutes a day. But by the time you're 30, if everybody's on equal footing and the AI is working in a positive way, everybody should know mentally, just like in the Matrix, whenever they needed to plug in and learn how to drive pilot a helicopter, everybody should be able to do that.
And we can do
We're
that.
We're very close.
I mean, that's the technology I was interfaced with, Lorien, but I can tell you they're not using it like that. And that's what concerns me is that, how would you like to look at something and have them label everything for you or force you to think a certain way without your free will getting involved? I mean, there's a certain amount of ethics you need for this technology, and these guys aren't showing that right now. And I'm not saying they don't have it. I think there is a division that does. But we need to get those guys to come forward and get them in control of this before it gets completely out of hand.
Exactly. But then who's controlling them? See,
that's true.
It gets to the point where you just go, okay, so maybe there's an evil cabal out there, and maybe it's the Council of 13 or the Bilderbergs or, whoever who's controlling all the money, the Rockefellers and this, the that. But how far down do they go on a daily basis to understand all this?
Right. And
maybe they're way at the top and they're just shoving money at it, and they're saying, okay, I know that I'm controlling people and I'll just leave my minions to make sure it happens the way it's supposed to happen for me to have the success. The outcome is in my favor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think it's so beyond. There's so many people involved. How do you stop something like that?
That's so true. Well, my take is that a lot of them are compromised already by the communication system, without a doubt. The handlers have controllers. The controllers have programmers. I mean, it's all interconnected, and it's a mess. It's a fiasco, and it's been deception since day one. I mean, we all know that we've been deceived since our birth on this world. So it's kind of like we have to kind of reprogram ourselves to the higher overtones to observe everything, But it's crazy. I'm telling you, what a weird world we live in. Lorien, I don't know, man. It's just insane.
It is. It's totally, and once you've opened your eyes to it and you can see it for what it is, there's no going back.
Oh, heck no. And you know what's interesting,
what do we do? There's only a handful of us out there going, thank God we all found each other.
I'm very grateful for you to allow this all to come together. And that's one thing I can really say. You've brought people together. You've brought like minds together. We come from all different areas of the communication system and the induction, abduction, whatever you want to call it. So it's really nice that we've all been able to collaborate our data and to get it out there. And I'm really grateful for you because it takes a lot of guts to do what you're doing. And it's not an easy cross to bear in any form or design. And you know it and I know it.
If people only knew, I mean, I hint at it on my show quite a bit, Solaris, but it gets to a point where it's a life and death thing. Mm-hmm. I get up every day and I got a broken knee right now in 2 places and I still don't know what happened to me. My brain just keeps telling me you stood up too fast and you had low blood pressure, okay? But I was propelled against that wall and my knee broke in 2 places. I've fallen before. I may be heavy, but I can fall and I'd have a bruised knee and a scraped hand, okay? I hit that wall so hard that, and my knee hit the floor so hard, I fractured it in 2 places. I have torn ligaments. It's black. If people could see it right now, they'd just be shocked. It's absolutely black from all the bruising that happened from it.
Goodness.
And I hit my shoulder so hard that it was almost dislocated. And I hit my head so hard that I knocked myself out briefly and woke up on the floor. Yeah. So now, how in the heck does that happen with me falling 4.5, 5 feet?
Mm-hmm. That's really weird. And I was going to tell you, arnica is good for bruising and internal bruising. I'm sure you're familiar with that, right?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. I've got some arnica.
You can take it in pill form, too. Just make sure it's okay with your doctor. It should be. But you can take it, and it takes care of the internal bruising. So,
interesting. I've got the cream.
Yeah, the cream is good for exterior, and then the arnica pill, it's like $10 or less at like Whole Foods or something. Yeah, get that, and then that'll take care of the bruising.
I will. I'll go to Farmika tomorrow and get some.
Yeah, for sure. I'm serious. It really works. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to do that.
I'm sorry that happened to you, though. I mean, I'm glad you're recovering.
Well, yeah, but see, this is the type of thing that people don't understand. I mean, I try to shield myself daily. I have protection. Mm-hmm. And this is something else I don't think I've ever really talked about. Gosh, we've only got about 5 minutes left.
Oh, you're good. Keep going.
Okay. I asked for divine protection shortly after the first Super Soldier Summit because I felt like I was being attacked. And I know quite a few things that happened to me before in my life where I should have noticed that they were already after me. And it's because they know the future, okay? People laugh at me when I say that, but they've been attacking me since I was 18 months old. And people think that's funny, but I ate rat poisoning, and God knows why I ate it, but I had to eat it for some reason. Okay. So I tell myself they've been trying to get me to kill myself since I was 18 months old. So, now everybody can turn that around and say, oh yeah, you were just doing it, whatever you're doing. But the older I got, the tougher things got, the more things got crazy. In 2009, I almost died from this really strange disease that still no one knows what it was. And I truly believe it was man-made. Now that I'm older and I understand what pneumonia is and what strep is and those type of things. So I've also had a drone in my house in the shape of a dragonfly. I've had some really strange things happen that I don't think they happen to normal people. Okay. And I'm not saying I'm abnormal. I'm just saying I think they knew what I was going to make my mind up to do long before I did it. So about 2 years ago, I sat down one day and I said, my God, I need protection. And you know who told me to do this? You're going to love this. Jordan Maxwell.
Oh, wow.
I give him full credit for what I'm going to tell you folks right now. I was talking to Jordan one night. He said, man, I think they're going to get me. He goes, well, at one point in my life, and he's told this story many a time, they tried to buy him twice. Like the devil, sign here on the dotted line and we'll put you in this building and you can write your stories and talk your talk and we'll pay you $500,000 a year to do it, but you can never give your stories to anybody else or talk out loud in public. Okay. This is what they do to a lot of people, I'm finding out now. So anyhow, Jordan told me, he says, look, the way he got protection is he went out into the middle of a field one day and he screamed at the top of his lungs for about an hour, just begging for protection. And then he got it in the form of an angel. And I'm not going to go into in the whole story because it's very personal to him. But, for me, I basically did the same thing. I sat and meditated for almost 7 hours one day and just openly requested what I wanted. And by the next day, I woke up and I felt the presence of some very amazing angels protecting me in my home. And I'm going to leave it at that, but I was really blessed to get these two. And I have to think of them every day. I have to pray. I have to ask the divine force, whatever, God or whatever we want to call it, to keep me in its good side and keep them with me. But I am truly blessed to be protected. I was away from the house when I broke my knee, by the way.
Well, I'm glad you're okay and on the mend. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in setting up grids for protection and bringing in affirmations. The one thing about the psychotronic program, it creates the enemy within. So it's an exterior trying to attack you on an interior level. And it's not like you've been abandoned by God in any form or design. But what it is that they'll try to challenge your soul with this technology, and you have to fight. And you can't run and you can't hide because they're internal. They're interfacing with your mind. So that's just something for people to understand, this type of a beast that they've unleashed.
And I'm so glad I had the life I had now, because I look back on it and I created a lot of havoc in my life and a lot of struggles and a lot of pain. And now I'm really glad because it solidified me to know who I am. I know who Lorien is.
Yep, absolutely. And that's another thing. I know who I am as well. And I think that's very empowering once you have a stance on who you are.
Yes, because then you hear the little voice in your head, or you think your intuition telling you to do something or whatever, and then you do it and you go, God, why did I ever do that? I would never have done that, Mm-hmm. That's the mind control, folks. You've got to be aware that's how insidious it can be. Mm-hmm. It just sneaks in, and they have organic programming now. It's not the hardwired chips as much anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah, don't worry about the RFID chips. They can transmit it through satellite-driven technology and everything else. And we're getting ready to wrap this up, Lorien, but I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight. What a pleasure it's been to talk with you.
It's been great. Well, thank you. Don't forget, folks, we're trying to do a fundraiser. Go to supersoldiersummit.com or mindcontrolsummit.com. Put in the capital JOHN 23. When you buy the on-demand video from last year, you'll get $10 off, so it'll be $20.
Excellent. And Lorien, come back anytime. I love having you on. It's
fabulous. Thank you,
dear. I so enjoy it. Yeah, my pleasure. Yes. And everybody stay tuned for Shiny Side Out with David Dunger and Becky coming up next to sell you on into the night from down under, of course. And with that being said, I think we're almost ready to get rock and rolling out of here. Lorien, did you have any final words or did you hang up?
Oh, just everybody get to supersoldiersummit.com. Come to the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's going to be mind-boggling. Solaris is going to be there. I'm going to be there. Douglas is going to be there. It's going to be lots of fun.
And very informative. That's another thing. I mean, this is a one-time deal. I mean, you guys aren't going to see this anyplace else or hear it anyplace else. I can guarantee you that much.
Oh, yeah. They won't. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. So. And your website, once again, if people want to get in touch with you?
Supersoldiersummit.com. or mindcontrolsummit.com. Just go through the contact page. You can get me in there.
Perfect.
That's the best way to get me.
Okay, well, I hope you feel better soon. I'm pretty sure you'll be on the mend by the time you get over there to the conference, or a lot better, right?
Oh, yes. And I'm renting a wheelchair.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm going to rent one of those power wheelchairs.
Oh, gosh. Well, hey, you'll be cranking around there.
Yeah, I will be. It'll be a lot of fun, actually. I'm kind of looking forward to it.
It'll be cute. Just... Yeah, you'll be
cool.
We'll have a good time. I'm looking forward to seeing you and everybody else.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, it's really good. It'll be very, very helpful for all of us. And all right, well, I'm just waiting for this bell here to transfer. But while we're waiting,
I've not heard any music. What's happening?
I think we have like a minute left to go.
Oh, okay, great. I love it.
I do too. Is there anything else that I haven't touched on that you can talk about in less than maybe 2 minutes?
Yeah, I have a friend of mine, Todd Michael. He's going to be telling his story for the first time at the summit this year. And I got to tell you, folks, I met Todd because he's a Bigfoot researcher. And about a year and a half ago, he started hinting to me that he had an experience too. And this is a very extraordinary man. He used to work for the NSA, CIA, and the Department of Defense. And I didn't know any of this the first 6 months I got to know him. And some things started coming out slowly but surely. He's finally said he will tell some of his story. He can't tell all of it, obviously, for security reasons, but he's going to start telling about his part in the Super Soldier program and how he ended up on Mars. So people really need, if you want to hear some extraordinary stuff, this guy is going to blow your mind. Yeah. So
goodness. What a lineup you have. You have a lot of good people showing up this year. Not like we didn't last year, but this is a really good group.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be absolutely amazing. And to be honest, everyone, I'm not sure there'll be a next one. So really, really, if you can make this one, you're going to be doing yourself a big, big service because you'll learn stuff you just never thought was real.
I agree. And with that being said, everybody have a great week. Lorien, thank you again very much. All right,
Thanks,
everybody.
Loris. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.